I'm Linda Lawless, psychotherapist and expert interviewer for Carol Solomon's Lose Weight Now audio program. Today I'm joined on the call with Karen Koenig. Karen's a cognitive-based therapist, motivational speaker, international author of 4 books on eating and weight, and an expert on the psychology of eating. She has 30 years of experience treating dysregulated eating. She does worldwide teletherapy and has a therapy practice in Sarasota, Florida. Personally, I just finished reading her book, Good Girls Finish Fat, which my daughter has already stolen from me. And I've gone and looked at her beautiful website, eatingnormal.com. So settle down and listen, and you're going to learn a lot today while we talk to Karen. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Good. You know, the first thing I thought of when I saw the title of the book that I read, Nice Girls Finish Fat, was, I think I've noticed that a few times. And it made me curious about what brought you to writing these kinds of books.
Well, it all starts out with the personal. I myself had eating and weight problems through my teens and early my 20s, and I then went back to school, got a master's degree and a degree in education, and started to write and thought, well, you're supposed to write about what you know about, and what I know about is food struggles and food recovery. Mm-hmm. And what I noticed was that people really dieted for so long that they really didn't know how to eat and connect to appetites. I wrote my first book, The Rules of Normal Eating, and then I noticed they got stuck on feelings, so I wrote the Food and Feelings Workbook. And then I saw that I had to help clients change their attitude in the way they related with people, which is how Nice Girls Finish Fat got written.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the list of books you've written. Boy, you have really explored this topic, haven't you?
I have, and I have 2 more that one is written and the other is partially written, and hopefully they will get published as well. There really is a lot to say on the subject because it's never just about the food.
Right. I see you've also written a book for therapists as well, what every therapist needs to know about treating eating and weight issues.
I do. I have done many workshops for therapists, for dietitians, on the cognitive behavioral approach that I use, which is very easy. So often clients will say, I don't like my body, or I'm trying to lose weight, I can't stay motivated, I've lost it, I've regained it. And therapists just don't know what to do. Maybe they're an expert in some other area. So the model that I teach and the general attitude I try to encourage is to take these questions seriously and then have something to offer the client other than, well, why don't you join Weight Watchers?
Well, there's nothing wrong with Weight Watchers. I didn't mean to be laughing at Weight Watchers. What I was laughing about was that that's such an easy cop-out, just to tell somebody to go, join a program or something and not really address what's going on. As I was reading your book, I had some questions. I have some questions. And some of the things you ask people to do are big, really big kinds of things. I'm looking at one here, accept your perfectly imperfect self. How do you get people to do that?
Well, first, I try to explore where their ideas come from, which is, where did you ever get the idea that you have to be perfect?
There you go.
And, it generally comes from the family, and then there's also school training, and the high expectations that other people lay on us. And when people really realize that the goal is not perfection and that it will never happen, there's a huge relief. And when they feel the relief, then they can entertain the idea of, oh, okay, so that's not my goal. I need to learn how to accept making mistakes, failing. And I have 2 articles essays I wrote years ago for a newspaper column. And I usually send those along to them. One is called The Art of Mediocrity, so that rather than striving for perfection, you decide where you want to be where you want to excel and where it's okay to be mediocre. And the other is called learning how to fail well. Mm-hmm. Because in this society, we all are pushed to get the skills for success, but not for failure. And unless we have those, we ain't going nowhere.
Isn't it really tough for people to start doing that? And not only for them, for the people around them. I mean, they've been living with this so-called perfect person, and now they're not only making mistakes, they're not feeling bad about it.
Well, it can go two ways. One is if you are with people who are perfectionists, they don't really like it because then they have to wonder about their drive for perfection. But it can be a big relief to family members for the superwoman who does everything, but then sort of either gets an edge about it or martyrish or complains a lot. I'm doing all this for you. It can really be a relief for family members.
That's
when somebody
point.
Says,
yeah,
I can't do it all. So there's always an adjustment, but that's true of any change.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you're helping them understand that the people around them, well, maybe they don't realize it. Do the people around them try to make them go back to the way they were before?
Absolutely, and you hit on a very good point. We like to keep the status quo, and although we'd like to think that our, quote, loved ones have our interest at heart, let's face it, we all have our own interest at heart. Mm-hmm. What we want to do is add the other person. But for the nice girl who takes care of her kids and does everything for them, and for her spouse or her partner, and does community things and takes care of elderly parents, initially there is often a strong reaction of, oh, well, don't you love me? Or what do you mean I have to do this myself? But as the nice girl de-nices herself and gets healthier, so do the other people, because inevitably whatever she is doing for them in excess is exactly what they need to do for themselves to grow. Mm-hmm. So the entire unit or the dyad, that family, gets healthier. But yes, it's an ouch experience. It is painful. But again, so is any sort of change and growth.
You also brought up a term that you use in your book. Maybe you didn't say the word, but it made me think of it, nicectomy.
Oh, yes, I do use the word, giving yourself a nicectomy.
Yeah, I love that phrase.
Well, we need to do that. It doesn't mean that we as women cannot be nice, but we want to make sure we are as many other things as nice, not just nice, not, one note, painting with one color.
Mm-hmm. I love the way you write. You make me laugh. While I'm reading your books, I'm assuming that's just a part of who you are. But
it is.
Yeah, it's such a serious topic, and yet when I'm reading your book, I'm finding myself laughing. So I thought of this friend in my refrigerator. And you say something about that?
About food being a friend, or about writing?
Food being a friend.
We do think of it. It's sort of the all-purpose answer, and we do think of it as a friend. If you're single and you don't have a date Saturday night, you think, well, I'm just going to spend my time, with the chocolate cheesecake, as if it's a real person, and as if it's a bona fide relationship. What we need to learn is that it's neither friend nor foe. I mean, food is for fuel and incidentally for pleasure. I mean, it's made pleasurable in terms of evolution, or we wouldn't eat it and we would die. Mm-hmm. So it tastes good, so we will eat it. But it's really for fuel and nutrition to feed our bodies. And when we start to look at it as a friend, what it speaks to is the deficits in our lives.